evening. We go to the Chita. So today we're holding new Parshas Vayeshev, chapter 37, verse number 1. Vayeshev Yaakov Eretz Meguri Yarav Yaakov Avinu settled in Hebron in the region of his father, had lived Eretz Canaan in the land of Canaan. Now she says, after the Torah wrote for you its account of the settlings of Esau and his descendants in a brief manner, they were not fit to esteem enough to specify how they settled, the sequence of their wars, and how they disposed of their Hurrites. It's now detailed to you the length and settling of Yaakov and his descendants, and all the events that brought them about, since they are considered important before God to be spoken at length. Similarly, you find with 10 generations from Adam to Noach, so-and-so, father, so-and-so. But when it came to Noach, it spoke of him at length. Similarly, for the 10 generations from Noach to Abraham, the Torah spoke in a brief, but when it reached to Avraham Avinu, it spoke of him at length. This can be compared to a jewel that fell into the sand. A person searches through the sand and sifts through the sieves until he finds a jewel, and once he found it, he discards the pebbles from his hands and it takes the jewel. And that's the analogy. Another explanation, Jacob settled the camels of flax dealers, enter the city, laden with flax. The blacksmith wonders, where can all this flax be stored? A clever person answered them, one spark from your bellows can burn everything. Don't look at a lot. Similarly, Yaakov saw all the chieftains written and wondered, saying, how am I able to conquer them? How am I overcoming Esau? How is that possible? What is written afterward? These are the descendants of Yaakov, Yosef. The house of Jacob will be as fire. The house of Yosef is like a flame. And the house of Esau is like stubble. A spark will emanate from Yosef, and it will destroy and consume them all. Elu tells Yaakov, Yosef, these are the sons of Yaakov, is Yosef. And Shvayas Shana Yosef was 17 years old. Vayiroya says, he was pasturing, he was with his brothers, with the flock. Unah b'nei Bila Zilpa, but he acted young, immature, and he spent with the sons of his fathers, Bila and Zilpa. Vayavi Yosef the Basam Ralavia, and Yosef would come with evil reports to his father about his brothers. Ashi says, these are the events. Yosef is only one of his 12 sons. So it means that Ashi first say, these are the events. That's what it means. The events of what happened to Yaakov is all connected to Yosef, as we'll see. The Torah continues. So their settlements experience until they came to state of permanent settlement. The first cause of that began this story was Yosef, 70 years old. And the ensuing narrative. Through it came about that they went down to Egypt. This is according to the straightforward meaning of the verse, giving each phrase its proper setting. But if you go to Haggadah, however, expounds it like this. The primary associate and primary of Yaakov was Yosef for several reasons. Yaakov felt that Yosef was his future. First of all, the entire reason Yaakov worked for Lavan was to marry Rachel, Yosef's mother. Number two is Yosef actually looked like Yaakov. They resembled face. They had a face recognition, like Avram had a face recognition with Yitzchak. Yaakov had a face recognition with Yosef. They look like one another. Number two, everything that happened to Yaakov happened to Yosef. Yaakov was hated. Yosef was hated. His brothers sought to kill him. Yosef's brothers sought to kill him. So they were like, and you can look at Medrash Shabbat. Yosef was taken away from his father. Yaakov went away from his father. Yosef went away from his father. They had something in common over here. These two people, Yaakov and Yosef. Another way to verse explained, he settled. Yaakov wished to live in tranquility. It's time to retire. But his troubles with Yosef suddenly came upon him. That's it. He had a teenager. When the righteous wish to live in tranquility, the Holy One, blessed be, he says, it's not enough for the righteous that prepare for them in the world to come. What are they kidding me? They're in this world, they got to get to work. And therefore, wish to live in tranquility. The Yaakov wants to retire. There's no retirement. Who not? What does it mean that he was a nad? He was a young boy. He was acting in the boyish manner. Yeah, Yosef had long hair. He would groom his hair. He would style his eyes. So he looked handsome. As Bnei Bila, he was regular in company of sons of Bila because his brothers would denigrate them. So he was makad of them. He brought them. He treated them nicely because his brother was treating him unfairly. They were chiding them, bullying them. As the basamra, anything improper he observed about his brothers, Leah's sons, he would tell his father. That's what number one is. He told them that they're eating from the limb of a torn living animal, which is prohibited by the sons of Noach. That they were leading the sons of a bondswoman, Bill and Zilpah, by calling them servants. And that they were suspect of associating with forbidden women. So they were going out to the field and they were seemingly disappearing here and there. As a result, Yosef punished in all 3 areas. Related to the living flesh of a living animal, he was sold. They slaughtered a young goat, and did not eat while he was alive. On account of the report he gave of them that they called the brothers servants, Yosef was sold as a slave. On account of which he told them the forbidden woman, we have the story of Yosef and Potiphar's wife. So the Eibishter punished Yosef exactly what he lashon hara that he spoke about his brothers. The basam diba is speaking. Yisrael loved Yosef, but Yisrael loved Yosef. You see now that the Torah goes back and forth. Yaakov, Yosef, Yosef, Yaakov, Yosef, Yisrael, Yisrael, Yosef. And I'm a portion that explain why does the Torah sometimes use the Yaakov and sometimes use the word Yisrael. Even though when Avram Avinu, his name was changed, when Yaakov Avinu, when his name was changed, it was not changed totally, because he kept the name Yaakov. And we see that throughout the entire Torah, that sometimes the Torah uses the word Yaakov, the name Yaakov, and sometimes he uses the word Yisrael. So, Yisrael loves Yosef, because Yisrael loved his son Yosef and all his sons. He bends a kunim because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a fine wool garment. Ashi says he was born to him in old age. Why did Rashi like this alone? Because really Binyamin was he should have loved Binyamin more than he loved Yosef. Because Yana was born later, was born in his old age. Therefore, Rashi's uncle, however, translates Bar Chacham late. Ben Zekunim not an old age, but actually Zakish Shakana Chachma. He was a wise son with him. He learned with him everything that Yaakov learned in Shem ve'Ever. He taught Yosef. So there were study partners. Another explanation: Ben Zekunim is Ziv Akunin. They looked again. Their facial appearance was similar. Pasim. Now she says it's an interesting word. Pasim. It was made fine wool of karpas tchelis, as same as pasim later on. Mentioned connection of Tamar and Amnon in later on by David HaMelech, which is eventually pricely materials. So that's what the Torah. The God explains it was on account of his misfortune, alluded to these letters in the initials of the word described of misfortune, that he was sold to Potiphar, that's to pay. Pasim. Samach, he was sold to merchants. Samach, Sechem. He was sold to the Ishmaelites, is the Yud. And he was sold to the Midianim, to the Midianites, is the Mem. So he was sold 4 times. But his brothers saw that his father loved him. He called Achaf on all his brothers. But Yisrael saying they hated him. They couldn't speak to him peacefully. As she says, that from the last words of this pasuk, you learn a positive thing. From what's written to the discredit, we can infer their praise. They could not speak one way in their mouth and feel differently in their heart. They were not what's called in Hebrew echad bepeh ve'echad belev. So they were not fake people that they hugged you but meanwhile in their heart they hated you. So they were unhappy with him, and they told him they were unhappy with him. Right? The pasuk says later, you should tell your brother when you don't like him, and you shouldn't carry hate in your heart. And that's what they didn't do. So they said exactly what they felt. Yosef had a dream. And he told his brothers of his dream. And they hated him even more. But he didn't let go. He told him, he said, listen, I need to tell you this dream. We're binding sheaves in the midst of the field. And my bunch, my group of wheat stood up. The Gamnitzover was standing upright. And all your bushels surrounded me, and you bowed down all to me. Ashi says, when you go to Onkelos, he translated ma'asin asirin, binding bundles, sheaves, and similarly carrying sheaves alumais. Kama alumasi, it's niskafa. Rashi says it means it's straight. The gamnitzava, not only just straight, but also standing, means it was able to stand on its own. So his brother turned to him and he said to him, what is your dream? You're going to become a king over us. You're going to rule over us. So they hated him even more. Not only is he acting like he's telling them actually that that's going to happen. On his words, on his dreams, on his words. Ashi says, what is his words? The basamara, his evil words that he brought to his father. Verse number 9, he had another dream. He told his brothers. He said to them, listen, I've had another dream. He said to them, and behold, that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars are all bowing to me. Verse number 10, he didn't only tell it the brothers, he told it to the father too. And his father chided it. What is this dream you're dreaming? What is this chalemis? So what's going to happen? What are you saying? I am your mother, and I'm going to come push it to you, and your brothers are going to bow down to you. Now she says, after he told it to his brothers, he then told it to his father in front of their presence. Because he was arousing hatred against himself. Yaakov Avinu realized what is he doing? He's not gaining anything. They're not listening to these dreams. Now she says, what did he tell her? Is it me and your mother's not alive, but your mother's already passed away. But Yaakov did not realize that he was talking about Bilhah, who raised Yosef as she was his mother. Our rabbis learned from here that there's no dream without unfilled elements. Yaakov intended to deflect his sons. Yaakov Avinu was also a dreamer. Yaakov Avinu had his chalemus. So Yaakov Avinu understood a dream is not pashut. And so too, he understood the Yosef's dream is also not pashut. And therefore, he basically knew that this dream has some truth. And therefore, he was just trying to deflect his son's attention from the matter so they would not be jealous of him. He therefore told them, we will indeed come. Are we going to come? Implying that just as part of the dream concerning your mother cannot be true, so to the other parts of the dream cannot be true. But his brothers remained jealous, even though his father rebuked him. His brothers remained jealous. But his father waited expectantly for the matter to unfold. His father knew, Yaakov Avinu knew, that this is not pashut. Rashi says he was waiting and hoping for when it would come about. He understood. That's why he understood that Yosef is going to play a major role in this story. And there's going to be a reason why Yosef is going to be the leader. It took 22 years for it to materialize. But Yaakov waited. Similarly, we find who waits Shema, God's faithful to fulfill his promise, like Sishma. Now you understand why Yaakov mourned very strongly when he heard he was killed, because Yaakov Avinu understood that Yosef is going to have a great part in Jewish history. But this is where we finished the Chumash for today. Okay, my friend, we're marching down to the last days of this Sefer Tanya. Today and tomorrow, the last two parts of the ending of Tanya for this year. Midshem on Tuesday, everybody should come with a bottle. They should have a bottle of mashke near them, and we'll say L'chaim together. Not Tuesday, on Monday, tomorrow, we'll say L'chaim as we complete together. I think this is the fourth time we've been learning, fourth year, we've been learning the Tanya, Chumash and Tanya together. So we are going to the 8th essay of the Alter Rebbe. Word had evidently reached the Alter Rebbe that the Chassidim in a certain synagogue did not permit a worshiper who would pray at length to lead the services because some individuals were pressed for time. In this letter of admonition, the Alter Rebbe writes that it's better for this person to even forego participation in the congregational response of Baruch Hu Kedusha than keep up his fellow congregants from praying at length. But liberally prayer involves life itself, indeed prolonging one's life. By cutting short the prayers of others, this busy individual tampers with their very life. Alter Rebbe also explains meditation during prayer with the goal of revealing the love of God that is concealed within the heart of every Jew, constitutes an obligation explicitly in the Torah, and you shall love your Lord your God. And therefore, Alter Rebbe felt that it's a mitzvah to contemplate and meditate in davening, in prayer. Okay. I've heard the forbidding and then deeply grieved. I'm very grieved that God's people are preventing one who yearns for the life and longevity of all his brethren by leading the service. In this small sanctuary where they praying, that this synagogue, this Chabad synagogue, that they're not allowing this person to daven a little bit at length. The person who leads the service at a measured pace and thus enables his fellow con to pray at length provides them life and longevity. As our sages of blessed memory taught, 3 things prolong the days of man. And one of them is somebody who prolongs his worship. One who extremely pressed for time. The guy has to go to business, and he got to go to work, and he is pressed for time. And he Pasha cannot wait. He's in a rush. He has a job, and he got to be there in time, and he can't wait. So he's trying to rush people, not because he just wants to rush to daven. He has to go to work, and he wants that the davening should go faster so that he will be able to hit Kedusha in the Shemona Esrei. So he's pushing the Chazan to rush it up, move it on. So it's better for him, even though he has the right to make davening fast because he has to go to work. So it's better for him not to hit a Kedusha. You shouldn't even hear Baruch Hu, even. But then they go into the life of those who desire life. So let him daven fast. He's entitled to daven fast. Maybe according to Jewish law, he can daven fast. He's going to work. He doesn't have to change the whole community because he's in a rush. And God will forgive him. Someone who's exonerated when he's compelled. The Torah forgives the person that's in a rush because he has to be in a rush. So we're not condemning him. He's entitled to be in a rush because he has to be in a rush. He's not entitled to make other people in a rush. Moreover, not only does God forgive him, but that's one of the whole purposes of a shliach tzibur. That's one of the whole purposes of a person who gets up and davens for people. What was the point? Because there was many people in time that couldn't daven, couldn't pray. So the shliach tzibur daven for them. That's the whole point of the army. People couldn't even say the words. So the shliach tzibur was the one who davened for them. So the shliach tzibur is davening for you. So what's the problem? And it's known that that's the whole point. The shliach tzibur does what you cannot do for whatever reason. And even if you're not there, the shliach tzibur could do it for you as if not there. In times of the Gemara brings up people that couldn't leave the field. They were field workers. And they had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever, to start doing the animals in the field. They couldn't, but that was their livelihood. And they couldn't leave their job. And they started their job early in the morning and they ended it late. So that was the point of the shliach tzibur. If you couldn't daven for whatever reason, the shliach tzibur, the chazan, that was his job. That's called the shliach tzibur. It's not called the chazan it's not called the chazan halacha. It's called the shliach tzibur. Chazan is the cantor. Shliach tzibur means the emissary for the community. So why is it called the shliach tzibur, the emissary? Because he represents the community. That's his job. So he can do it for you, for those that need to be in the field, that couldn't daven due to this situation. If they're gonna die, if they were to come to daven, they would lose their jobs, and therefore they establish a shliach tzibur that this guy would daven for you. You put on tefillin, you got to say the Shema, but the whole davening they couldn't do. Guy can't put on tefillin for you, but he can surely daven for you. Of hearing kedusha, they would it's in halacha. It's like you responding. So unlike other instances, the rest where the Torah indeed exonerates the individual concern, but does not consider and perform the omitted. In general, when you say God forgives somebody who's under duress, doesn't mean that he did it. I mean, God forgives you. But actually, when it comes to davening, it's more than that. Not only does God forgive you, but God, the shliach tzibur, has in mind the community, so he has in mind anybody that couldn't daven. He's considered as if he daven. But the reader discharges his obligation. It is the Gemara, as the Gemara says. I told you example, people of the field. I was called Am Ha'aretz. Am Ha'aretz, this is an interpretation of somebody who's ignorant. But in the Gemara terminology, Am Ha'aretz means a land of the field. What means a guy in the field? He was busy with the field. He was a farmer. And if you're a farmer, you can be busy from early in the morning before dawn, and you can be busy tonight. And the Eibusher forgives you. That is what he's supposed to do. So it's considered under duress. And Allah, the Gemara says that it's not and fulfills the obligation of reciting Shemona Esrei, the prayer itself, and not only of participating in the response of Baruch Kedusha. The Shliach Tzibur accomplishes the Shemona Esrei, and that's why the Shliach Tzibur repeats it. The Shliach Tzibur repeats Shemona Esrei, which is the pinnacle of davening, which is called prayer. The Shliach Tzibur, the Chazan, the one who stands up there, he repeats it. He repeats it for everybody. He's not going to repeat it for himself. If he was repeating for himself, it's a brach levatala. He's not going to repeat it for himself. He's repeating it for everybody. That's the point. That's the point of a Shliach Tzibur. As if he heard it. So the guy's in the field. He's working with the cows. The Shliach Tzibur is in the synagogue. He's davening. And he's having in mind those Jews who Pashut simply cannot be in shul. And it's as if they davened. If it's that's the law by Shemona Esrei, the 18 blessings, which is prayer, is surely Baruch Hu goes into it, and Kedusha, or we say Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish in the Shemona Esrei, surely goes into it. So this being the case, a person under duress should have been not. So this being the case, so what are you worried about? Daven quickly. Knock off the davening, you gotta daven. Baruch Hashem, you're coming to shul, you're knocking it off, at least you're davening in shul, at least you're davening. You're praying. So you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're getting in a rush. Go, you're entitled to be in a rush. You surely shouldn't make everybody in a rush because you're in a rush. This being the case, a person under the rush should obviously not inconvenience others who seek to prolong their praise. And we searched out and verified. Even regarding the early generation, the times of the sages of the Mishnah, times of Yehuda Nasi, and times of the Gemara, by and Rava. They said Torah and Kva, that their Torah was that was their ikar, their life was Torah. Thank God. They put their whole life to the learning of Torah. Vikram, that was their agenda. Related to us, the Gemara says they didn't even daven. Say Krishma, there's a whole Gemara on that. So they didn't even daven. They simply learned from the morning till night. And that's why you have Mishnah and Gemara and everything else, because of them. They Pashut gave up their lives and they sat and they learned. And they didn't daven. Why? Because there was a shliach tzibur. He davened. Didn't have to daven. They were under duress because they put their life for a certain concept, and thank God, because of them, we have everything that we have today, because of their self-sacrifice. So even with them, prolonged prayer was related to life and longevity. It's even more emphatically true in our time. That our learning is not kva. So we need to daven more. Therefore, the most important and primary service today is davening, prayer. Student of the Arizal writes in Be'etz Chaim, Prietz Chaim, Kabbalah, that the ikar, the most important avodah today, is davening. Solely it's fitting, proper to devote utterly ourselves to davening, to prayer. And this prolonged davening, brothers, by the discipline, contemplation of God's greatness. And the actual Torah mandate is an actual Torah mandate to those who understand the efficacy. The least a little profound consideration, meditation, each according to their measure. In some individuals discussed in Tanya in the first beginning Tanya, chapter 44, a feeling of love and awe God will be aroused by a brief effort of meditation. Others only by a deeper and longer stretch meditation. But everybody needs to have some meditation. Which was in order to enumerate the praises of God. Psukkah de Zimra. In the Psukkah de Zimra, what we say in davening, beginning of davening, Shtei brachas shlofnei Krishma, in the two blessings before the Shema. Yotzeh, the blessing of Yotzeh, and of Ava Felo. The Bem Ava Musteres Belev Kol Yisrael, to awaken up the hidden love in all Jews. Love of the Bechinas Gilu. So it should come openly revealed this godless slave in the opening of his heart, in the revelation of his heart, Yishas Krishma, in time of Krishma itself. So the preparation of davening, the preparation of awakening Shema Yisrael, how do we awaken this up? Psukkah de Zimra, but first praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu, understanding the praises of God, and then saying the brachas of the Shema, understanding the brachas, the blessings before the Shema. And there is a mitzvah, and then you come to the mitzvah. And I love God with all my heart. Which is reckoned first amongst the 613 commandments. Which the Rambam writes himself, that it's one of the foundations of the Torah. Which is the source and the root of all 248 mitzvahs, is to love God. So concerning these commandments, the Alter Rebbe states in Tanya, in the beginning of Tanya, chapter 4, for he who fulfills them in truth is he who loves God's name. That means the more I love God, the more I want to do a mitzvah. This commandment, you shall love, is the obligation imposed by the Torah to meditate during prayer in order to arouse and reveals one Latin heart and to the emotions of love itself. A commandment is obviously impossible and irrelevant. If one has it, he has it. And if one doesn't, he's not commanded to produce. How do you have to have love? You can't command somebody to love somebody. Thus, in reply to this question, how is it possible to mandate love? The Maggid Mezritch, whose yard site is Yutas Kislev, this coming Tuesday, points out that the subject of this command is not the love, but the meditation that will surely lead to one experiencing. That's the mitzvah. The Yahavta is to contemplate love, to meditate on the love of God. That's the whole Psukkah de Zimra and the blessings. It's all about meditating on love of the Eibishter, love of God. When one considers, Hear, O Israel, how the Lord is our God, the Lord is one will surely come to love him. Because if we meditate on godliness, we come to love him. It's like the same thing, love of another person. Meditating, understanding another person is loving them. The key verb is vahafta, is thus not to be understood a command, you shall, but you will. That's really the meaning. If I do the Shema Yisrael correctly, if I hear, O Israel, because I prepared myself. I didn't just say, Hear, O Israel. I have Hear, O Israel, because I've done the Psukkah Zimra right. I've praised the Eibishter right. I did the blessings of the Shema correctly. Now I'm ready to hear. And when I hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one, the oneness of God. With the world, with us, it has to create a love. Then something's wrong with the hearing. So that's the problem. So the vahafta is not you shall love. The vahafta is you will love. That's what the Maggid learned in Pasuk. Vahafta, you will love. If you meditate correctly, if you get ready correctly, then you will love. So it will be a natural phenomenon. And also the truth is that you do love already. That's why it's easy, because everybody has Av Misateres. It's not you will love because you have a love already. That's even more deeper. We have a love of God already. It's within us, this love of God. We only have to reveal this love of God. That's why it shouldn't take too hard to have a revelation of love of God. For regarding the Latin love, that hidden love, which is the heart of every Jew from the time of his birth, you don't have to command him to love God. He has it already. The command is to reveal, to awaken up the love that's in your heart. Rather, the command is that the Latin love be revealed. And moreover, that it's felt not only by godly soul, but in the animal soul, which is clearly this is not harbored at all. And this is easily understood. That a love that is hidden is still large. It's still part of the godly soul. When this love of God, which is hidden in your godly soul, is revealed, the nefesh hachayunis is revealed in an animating soul. Then it's a revelation of the heart. The chol asmali, the left side of the heart, which is the abode of the animal soul, the animating soul, which is the animal soul. So since this soul animates the entire body, the person as a whole will be permeated with this love. This is the meaning of the elevating of the sparks, which is mentioned in Kabbalah and Eitz Chaim and Pri Eitz Chaim in the reference to prayer. Through prayer, one elevates the sparks of holiness that is felt in Tohu. It's revealed within it because it's all about revelation. So it's already there. It's the sparks of Tohu, which is in your Nefesh HaBahamis. And through your Nefesh HaLakis, through revealing your godly soul and your love of God and your godly soul, you're going to elevate your animalistic soul. and you're going to reveal the sparks of godliness of Torah. And that's why this is the preceding, this is the most important, the primary service of this time. Levad Natzutzis, daven, to pray correctly, to come and daven with understanding, and daven contemplation and meditation. That's our service today. We're dealing today with the dregs of Gullus, with the lowest, darkest part of Gullus. And we're trying to place it through either transformation, subjugation, which is the subjugating of the animal soul, the nefesh elokis, to the godly soul. Kenoida, as it's known. And the whole Tanya. Adam hu nefesh, for the blood is the soul. Torah says that. Adam hu nefesh, that's a pasuk in the beginning of Genesis. For the blood of man is a soul. Adam hu mischadish b'chol yom, and the blood is renewed every day. From your food and your drink. So by directing the eating and drinking to the holy goals of the divine soul, one refines and elevates the sparks found in the food and drink, and ultimately in his own blood. And that by man is affected by the improved by his garments and his shelter. Everybody should have a beautiful home, and everybody should have beautiful clothes, etc. All these are the sparks of godliness that it can elevate, that it can use out for the right reason. So the refinement of the sparks lacking the physical things is affected by revealing one's innate love during davening. In our days, prolonged prayer and meditation is thus an important thing. We're not talking the times of the Shonim, the times of the Tanoim, the times of the Maroyim. These were holy people. We're not talking about such kind of people. These people didn't need to, they had their Torah affected everything. Their Torah learning changed the world. That's why. So in those days, they davened quickly because they didn't need it. The Torah changed the world. These prayers alone then suffice. They not say Krishma. That's how you learn the Gemara there. What did they do? Did they say Krishma? Didn't say Krishma? Did say Krishma? Shmanesra. Exactly. The Gemara argues here what these sages were obligated or not obligated. But it was a much shorter davening than us because their Torasem Umanasem, their life was learning. We're not at that level anymore. We're at the level of simple Jews. We need to daven. We need to pray. And this will suffice those who discern, those who have understanding. And that completes the Tanya for today. Today is the 17th day of Kislev. And the Tillim of the day is 83 to chapter 87. If you do those chapters, you do the Chitas of the day. The Rebbe writes, today in the Hayoim Yom, today, Chassidus Chabad opens up the gates of the chambers of Chachma and Bina, of wisdom and understanding, enabling one to know and to recognize with intellect and comprehension he who spoke and the world came into being. It awakens the feeling of the heart so that it aroused within the emotions engendered by the particular intellectual comprehension. And Chassidus Chabad shows the way that each individual commiserates with his innate ability can approach the sacred to serve God with his mind and with his heart. What a beautiful Hayom Yom, connected truly to the Tanya of today. My dear friends, I want to invite you all. We're going to learn Chassidus today also, 10 o'clock. Come to the JEI, come learn some Tanya. As we celebrate Yutas Kislev, the next couple of days, come tomorrow, Mirch Hashem. We'll finish the Tanya together tomorrow at 8 o'clock, Bezat Hashem. And also, don't forget, all those that are listening, today in Mirch Hashem, we're doing our matching campaign for Chabad. Don't forget, give tzedakah, the Alter Rebbe. It's a good day to give tzedakah in honor of the Alter Rebbe and Chabad. And God bless you all. And Mirch Hashem, can't wait till tomorrow. Everybody, make sure you have a couple of bottle of mashke with you. We'll all say l'chaim. as we have learned together all these years, and mid Shem on Tuesday start over Bezat Hashem from beginning again.
So what do you recommend?